Joe, Ogamon Kordiznikas, Sagin Donjama, providing you with a community update for November 10th, 2021. Today we passed a resolution accepting the mediation settlement, the minutes of settlement for Ms. Cherie Ursler, a former Ben administrator who was wrongfully dismissed. I'm just going to outline some of the reasons why we were recommended to settle. There was a view that Sagin would have paid more than $200,000 for this action if it proceeded any further. SFM's insurer, Lloyd's, is contributing $200,000 to the settlement, plus agreeing to pay 50% of Sagin First Nations legal costs. The actual cost to Lloyd's is actually more because there's a $25,000 deductible under the insurance policy. Lloyd's, which is an independent for-profit company, will not be offering to pay this so much quickly unless it's believed this was a reasonable settlement for its insured, Sagin First Nation and itself. Lloyd's obviously believes that if the case does not settle quickly, it will cost significantly more. Lloyd's representative was present at the mediation that arrived at the settlement and took the position that this was a positive for both Sagin First Nation's interests and Lloyd's. Lloyd's is not responsible for the full cost of settlement or a judgment at trial. It's only responsible for damages caused by the actual termination of Cherie Ursler, and that's it. For the costs of failing to provide notice of termination and associated costs, it is not responsible for what happened after her termination. It is not liable for the damages caused by leaking of the MNP report or the harassment in social media. Those or other damages could exceed the $200,000 that Sagin First Nation is required to pay under the negotiated settlement of October 29th, 2021. If the cost of a settlement or judgment at trial is more than $400,000, Lloyd's may not be liable for 50% of the increased costs, including the additional legal costs. Lloyd's may be liable for less than 50%, and Sagin First Nation liable for more than 50% of the final costs that Sagin First Nation is required to pay under the negotiated settlement of October 29th. So if it goes any further, if it was to go any further, it would be that much more expensive, to put it plainly. If the case proceeds further, Lloyd's will be looking for ways to minimize its costs and put the pressure on Sagin First Nations to sell. So that was just to reiterate that fact. Dinsdale Clark Legal also believes that there is no realistic chance of Sagin First Nation winning that trial. And lastly, the MNP report does not show there was cause for Ms. Ursler's termination. The MNP report contained all sorts of limitations and qualifications. In particular, on page 4, the following limitations and qualifications were set out. This work is not designed to identify all circumstances of inappropriate behavior or irregularities, if any, which may exist. Our report is confidential and is prepared at the request of the client. We express no opinion as to whether the information presented in this report is sufficient to establish civil or criminal liability, as only a court can determine those matters. Our report is not intended for general circulation. It should not be reproduced or used for any other purposes than the outlined above. We assume no responsibility or liability for losses incurred by any party from the circulation, publication, or reproduction or use of this report contrary to the provisions of this paragraph. Again, the MNP report was leaked to the community. It was identified through an internal review and investigation how that report was leaked. However, the current council didn't act on the suspension. So, all in all, it's taken a great deal of time. Hopefully we've healed some of the wounds within the community regarding this wrongful dismissal. My condolences go out to Neela Root and family. You're missed deeply. You sat at the table with us here at council at one point. And with that I say, Almampi, we'll meet again. Tomorrow is Remembrance Day. I just encourage everyone to attend the ceremony. We'll be beginning to assemble at the fire hall at 10 a.m. So with that I say, Chimigwach.